prayer. Stretch our God, Father, that we come to you now, Lord, with great heart, with all blessings upon us. Father, we thank you for this day, the rain, but most of all, Lord, we thank you for your cross. Father, we thank you for our county, for our city, for our elected officials. We ask, Lord, God, Lord, as we go into our meeting tonight, that way we'll accomplish the Lord from your will. We always compare from the honor and praise of the Lord for Christ's name. Amen. I pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome tonight. Next meeting, how we're going to have now. We're here now. I will mess up somewhere. Please bear with us. We have one addition to the agenda. Item 8A is consent. Additional one-o'clock application on 999. We have one removal from the agenda. Item number 25. Commissioner Payne's asked to remove the agenda. Is there additions? 27 with them. Pleasure of the board. Move 27 and 31 to consent. Al is number 33. Will that work? How about number 4A? Any additions or deletions? Yes. Number 33 being the update on Green Street paving. Okay. Anything else?
Chairman, I move the agenda be adopted as amended.
Motion by Commissioner Page to adopt the agenda amendment, second by Commissioner Patterson. All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I need a motion to approve minutes from July 17th special meeting and August 30th. Motion by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Patterson. All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 4A, Mr. Jack Brown. Conrad, does he need to fill a disclosure or anything in his office, or? Okay. Anything else? Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Page, second by Commissioner Brown. All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Comments and concerns of the public on agenda items. I want to give you a heads up. I may be stopping from time to time to take care of the public hearings, so we can give you a heads up ahead of time. That being said, comments and concerns of the public are not agenda items. Seeing none. Deb. Go from there.
I would like to also reconsider the moving the board meeting to take place at night. All way too much.
I know we're also looking at the courtroom, buddy, and the staff looking at that, so hopefully we'll be able to address that really quick. Number 11, the board received an update from the Stanford Water Association, report of the board on September 7th. I saw them. There you are. Did the same category earlier. I may stop you for a second. I apologize. Go ahead.
apologize for not being at the last county commissioner meeting that you held. I was actually at the Dixie County Commissioner meeting that evening, and it was the same, or that day, it was the same time. We did sign the agreement between Dixie County and Steinhatchee. So we are prepared to provide wastewater services to Gina. And we've got that agreement in place, and we're moving forward with that. The plan at this time is we're moving forward with trying to create a GUA, if you will. Now we've recently hired an attorney out of Tallahassee, Mr. Michael Spillman, that represents a firm that used to represent the city of Tallahassee. And what we've tasked him with doing is giving us a list of governance options so we can look at what our options are as far as the GUA, as far as some other government entity that will allow us to get the funding for these projects and make it a regional utility and everything that we had talked about before. So that is still moving forward. We also have hired Tammy Ray of Haskell Engineering for administrative services. She since then hired Danny Collins, who was Governor Boyd's assistant, and put him on her staff to go after legislative and congressional appropriations for our projects. So all that's moving forward. We have a meeting tomorrow with Swanee River Water Management to go after some other funding for some of these projects through Swanee River Water Management and look at the availability of property for water plants and such. And that meeting's scheduled for tomorrow. We're going to present another option to Dixie County on Thursday at their county commissioner meeting, and that's basically we're going to seek some appropriations and some funding under the Dixie County umbrella for the water plant we're going to put in Dixie County. Now all of these things that we're putting together are moving toward this GUA at the same time. Part of the agreement with Dixie County added the Dixie County Commissioner for Gina to our water board. We've amended our bylaws, and that amendment is up before the membership on the 3rd of October at our annual meeting. And what we've done to our bylaws, and I spoke with Mr. Bethea earlier, is we added also the Taylor County Commissioner for Steinhatchee to our board, those two positions. So our board will go from being a 7-member board to being a 9-member board with representation from both Dixie and Taylor counties on it. In order to basically give equal representation to both counties and to have county commissioner involvement in our process, so that we're not operating outside of your knowledge, basically. Because where we're headed is basically a regional utility that you will own. The counties will own. In addition to us. I mean, we're not going to be out there by ourselves. It's going to be governed by the counties and by us. And I talked to Mr. Bethea about it, and because I wanted him to know before this meeting that was being thrown at him. Also with adding the county commissioners, we're giving the option of the county commissioners or their appointee. And basically we gave them that option so that we weren't throwing them to the wolves, and we understand their time is valuable and they don't have time always to come to all our meetings and participate in everything, but they can appoint a representative to that position, and that would be an option. We don't. Yeah, absolutely. We're not appointing him to our board. What we're doing is we're making that position available to him. If he doesn't wish to fill that position, or this board doesn't wish to fill that position, that's totally at your option. Right. And Right. And what we're looking for is we're looking for your participation in this process. We don't want to be out there doing something that you would disapprove of. I mean, that's not what we want. And by the same token, Dixie County would want to do something that they disapprove of. So this whole process is still moving forward. We're still working on it. Yes, it has. As a matter of fact, we had a meeting talking about the agreement we just signed, and I actually brought it up. I brought it to the meeting and said, you have copies of this. This is the direction that we would like to go. And they had seen it, and they had it. I don't know what their complete reaction to it is, or what have you. And I'll tell you what we're doing with forming this GUA is to a large extent plagiarizing that document. And because it's already created, it's already there, and as I told Dixie County, I presented it to them, and we talked about it, and I told them that this is a good document, this is a good plan. And I've since then taken that same document, giving it to our new attorney that's going to give us these governance options, and giving it to our administrative services people, and they're going to take it and put this all together, and we're going to try and pull the two counties together and make this happen.
Any questions on the board?
I have all good. Last meeting we had y'all here, I did this in, put this point in your organization, perspective sewer. I'd like to know understand more about that, why you guys want to step forward.
Your last meeting was, what was the date of that last meeting?
D7.
Thursday.
The 7th. That was the day meeting.
Okay, that was. Well, I should have asked what month that was in. Because I have right here in front of me the application from Ideal Fish Camp that's dated June 29th, 06. Ideal Fish Camp came to us and filled out this application of Mr. Gregory Preble and Mr. Steve Bucci, I do believe. So they were fully aware and basically already on board with sewer. We had already had the discussions. We had already talked about putting sewer to their project. After your last meeting, there was one of our board members was at that meeting, and he immediately called me, and I immediately called them. He said they were there and they didn't know anything about us. And I called them and said, you were there and didn't know anything about us, and I have paperwork right here in front of me. And they apologized and explained that they knew they were on board. They knew what was going on. The next day, they came to my office, and basically we drafted contracts to deliver service to their development. I wasn't at that meeting. I don't know what transpired in this room. I don't know, what they were saying. But I was a little upset when I got a call from one of our board members that someone was before this board telling you that they hadn't heard of us, and I already drafted contracts for them. here's their on this document is their completion date, 6/07, and we meet that timeline by 5 months. I mean, we have no problem meeting that timeline, and we explain that to them in the meeting when they fill this document out. I mean,
Let me stop you just for a second. Item number 17, the board received proposal for construction of Hodges Park side improvement at 610. Did not hold that public hearing. We received no bids for that. Item number 18, the board received bids for Brd I didn't think it took a second to stay there. Platform construction project, reconstruction project, set for this date at 6:15 p.m. Legal committee, Clay Olson, Preston Sapp, and Brianne Hoover. Clay's going to come before and open for us. All I have to do. You can come in here and do it so we can keep on with you.
okay. So as far as our process, what we've been doing, and to kind of bring you up to speed on the process of us contacting the developers or them contacting us. Normally what happens, they come to us for water, they have to come to us or they don't get water. When they come to us for water, we discuss sewer and how to meet the needs of their project. We have them fill this form out. That basically gives us who's your engineer, so we have a contact to get site plans, so that we have timelines on their project, so we understand where their project is. And then we move into basically the contractual portion of it. And sometimes that may take months, and sometimes that may take days. And it's basically to meet their timeline. When they have a timeline that's out, they don't have site plans, for instance, but they're planning a project. It may be 6 months before they're back in my office again. But I've got this document that says we've talked to them. And then when they come back in my office, ready to come before your board for their site plan or what have you, then we come up with contracts and that sort of thing, and we move through this process. One of the things after that meeting that we did at the recommendation of our board member is we contacted your building department. We set up a meeting for tomorrow afternoon because we need to better document what we're doing and what their requirements, so we can figure out what do they need and what do we need to provide them for these projects. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, I couldn't be there because I had that Swanee River Board of Management meeting, and I was told that 3 o'clock was fine, and it would be going on. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Right, and that's sort of what I'm looking for tomorrow from this other is coordinating this communication so that we know what you need to have in front of you when somebody approaches you and says, "We've never heard of Steam Hatchie Water Association." You can go, well, apparently you have. Right, here's your application to Steam Hatchie Water Association.
I don't think he said that.
What?
When did the application you're talking about? When did the application?
It was June 29th is when
That's the official application they applied
for us to provide water and sewer to their projects. When they came to us and said we'd like water and sewer. And we sat down with them. We looked at their site plans at that point. And we looked at the availability. because depending on where these projects are, we may not be able to meet their timeline. I mean, that's a realistic expectation. In the future, if there may be a development that's 15 miles north of where we're putting in pipeline, we can't meet their requirements without a huge amount of funding to run a pipeline to them. And we have to look at those options. So every one of them we evaluate individually. This one in particular, the pipeline is already running right in front of their property, through part of their property. So it's no issue as far as putting this development online. Thank you. Thank you.
I think I heard about what you're, that you're gonna be asking those questions.
Got any questions? We have two bids from the Brd Meeting for $80,000 from Maryland Marine Construction Incorporated. The second one being $59,685. It's from Shippers Marine Construction Incorporated. The clerk's office has both the bids. Time being 6:20 or shortly thereafter, the board should hold the first public hearing set for this date at 6:20 p.m. Putting amendment LDC 06-1, removing the 15-acre exemption on private roads. Consider the first reading of the proposed ordinance adopting said amendment. Ask for motion to read by title only. Motion by Commissioner Day. Second by Commissioner Page. All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Time may go for it. Wish to address the amendment? You want to read it? Yeah. Go ahead.
Designation of lands in the major of minor development. Generally, the purposes of the subdivision, all development may not be designated by the zoning director as either minor or major development in this section. In
more clearly than 24 parcels. You lost me in that part.
Well,
As I understand it,
when you reach the threshold of 40-acre parcels that are divided off of a private roadway or easement, the maximum that can be done is 24 parcels.
24, 40-acre parcels.
And as a side note, I'm technically not the author of this side note. But that would, the maximum that you could do that before you would have to, the road improvements would be 24 parcels.
All the county roads have 60-foot right of ways right now.
No.
Now, the 15-acre parcels with the 60-foot on the public,
It's
road,
fronted
that'd
on
be
the
a-
road, not
that'd be a flag
right
lot.
width of the road.
that would be a flag lot, mostly
Yes.
60 feet.
So,
Right.
my question is, let's say they're on abutting a county road where they have right of way on a county road, but we don't have 60-foot.
Where it's requiring 60 foot of frontage, not a 60 foot
Okay,
right
so
of
it's
way.
only 60 foot of frontage, not 60 foot of right of way.
Right.
And we got, because that was the question that was asked earlier, was how much right of way are you requiring?
Now, this would not require a specific right of way width if it's a county maintained road.
But it's a private road. I mean, it's not written here, but where we're saying it's got to be the right of way with for a public.
The policy we've used in the past, and that's what I foresee as being used on the 40-acre parcels, is that we do a site visit, and if it looks like a road, and you can drive down it like a road, and we all agree that it's a road, then we consider it a road. We don't, look at the width. Most of the time, you don't have a right of way there anyway.
Right, because, what we get into is, we're not requiring the public to do more than the county does.
Anyone else from the public? Dale?
My name is Dale Rowell. I'd like to save myself some time and y'all too. And all of these ordinance tonight that's on the agenda, I have some problems with, except for the two on the signs and the power line right-of-ways. Our LDRs is, and I've used this quite often, is like our Bible in development. I don't mean to be that sacrilegious in saying that, but it is a book, and you got one section here that affects something, and you change this, and you change the meaning somewhere else. One of the major concerns I have in all these three that we're talking about now on the 15-acre flag lot, and the reason why I'm mentioning all three, I'm not going to get back up here. I hope that you remember when we talk about these other ones that I don't get back up and stutter and spill around. But on all three of them, there, in our LDR comprehensive plan, there is an exemption for family division of property. That relates only to divisions, only to density. You have to meet all the other requirements of the LDRs. If I want to give my daughter 1 acre in Shady Grove, which I can't give none of y'all, we can decide that doesn't matter. But if I want to give them a 1 acre requirement, a lot up there, we still got to meet all the other requirements. One of the things that y'all need to be considering tonight is the fact that the effect that it has on economic value. I know that urban sprawl is a bad word, but then again, when you look at what urban sprawl is in development, there's not too much difference. In urban sprawl to me is uncontrolled development where development is good. If we want to do things like this, tighten up development, one thing you're doing, you're taking away the ability of me. I own 85 acres, okay? And I have a private road that goes into it that you can't drive down. I'm not going to say invite you. Everybody's invited. But before you change this, I can go in there and break this up. And if I want to sell my land, I'm going to have to go there and pave that road because of this. I actually have a 70-foot right-of-way going into mine. But based upon this, you're affecting the value of my land. If we don't have development, what we're going to end up is we're all going to be in apartments and townhouses. We keep looking at South Florida. We don't want to be like Miami-Dade County, where everybody lives right on top of each other. And when you do this, when you pass this, approve this, these requirements, you're going to restrict anybody that owns any property the ability to go in and subdivide it, break it up into 50. If somebody wanted to sell 15 acres this year and 15, it's kind of like a retirement fund. And that's what it is to most people's retirement. You're going to prevent them to do it. So what's going to happen is somebody's going to come in and buy your property at a wholesale price, develop it and get a big price out of it, you know. And as property goes on and it's subdivided more and more, there are other requirements of our existing rules that would require paving and building of roads. So, you know, if you get in there, if you get outside the 15-acre exemption, and it's on, if we don't have an existing road or easement going to it, you can't do it no way. If you build a road, you're going to have to build a road. You're going to have to go through Swanee River. You're going to have to get ERP. You're going to have to hire a surveyor. Yeah, that's good. I like that. But anyway, it's not good for the public. It's not good for economical value. We have a different opinion on what good development is and what's bad. Inconvenient River Preserve has been viewed by this board as a bad example of what's going on. Their process included coming to the Tech Review Committee, meeting with the Tech Review Committee, taking the county manager, county engineer, and county road department manager out to look at it. And they said, yeah, this looks like a road and you're meeting the requirements. The only thing that, and then we took it for the planning and zoning board. And they said, yeah, you're meeting all of our requirements. The only thing that I see is that they didn't do is get an ERP permit from Swanee River Water Management District, and they're working on correcting that today. A project very similar to that, what I call the Yellow Jacket project is out on County Line, Yellow Jacket area up in there. We brought that up into tracks and took it for the district, Water Management District. They didn't have a problem with it. We didn't have to do nothing. And so, you know, you look, I did this yesterday, and I can do this today. And I can do the same thing today. And that's the basis of what happened with the Inconvenient River Preserves. I think some of the things that we could do to prevent that in the future, I'll find my notes because I don't have a real good memory. We talked about a few times before the board, and Mr. Garner, you don't like a disclosure statement being required. I understand that. But then again, everybody that buys a piece of property should know what they're buying. They should know if it's the county road or whatever. And if I do a disclosure statement, I come in, this road is maintained by this homeowners association, or this road is maintained by the county with the MSBU tax attached to it, I think we should do that. This is in a flood zone. You know, I like the idea that the district has now. The district is giving Danny y'all a computer that you can go online and look, see if it's in wetlands or anything like that. You ain't seen one? Well, they said they was going to do it. But anyway, I think that's a good idea that when they go into the building and planning department, you can look and see where you're getting into. And that's a good checkpoint on new development, these 15 acres. No, you can't build in the wetlands. We don't want to build in, don't want to have anybody build into a wetlands. In a floodplain, we want to make sure that they're high enough above the floodplain that they're not flooded. Some of these pieces of property are 20 miles from an existing power line. Somebody's got to pay for that power to get put in there. They need to know that you're going to have to pay $3,000 a mile or whatever what the cost is to get power run to your house, and you're going to have to pay a large bill each month to pay for that. And that's where the disclosure statement would help for us. Another a clause in every homeowners association or property owner association should be that if the entity fails, then the county has the right to impose an MSBU tax on the property with only a public hearing and notification of the owners. And so a lot of times property owner associations just don't do what they're supposed to do. And y'all's hands are tied. And down at, I believe it's Yates Creek where we had the problem with the roads, several of them. But anyway, if we didn't require that on all homeowners associations, and basically what I'm asking you to do is let's go approve these tonight. Let's go back to the drawing board, hold some workshops. And I got a lot of input. This is just some of it that I'd like to bring in. But I won't type it here, and I can sit here and talk to you a long time. But, and I'm not going to speak on the other one, but the other three, the flag lots and the road issue is all related to these same issues. Any questions for me?
Just for clarification, I'm not against disclosure,
I
I'm
understand.
against more government regulation.
Oh, I understand exactly. And so, in
Some
order,
faces cringe when you said that, I want to make sure they understand, I'm not against.
well, I understand your hesitancy to impose new regulation. That's what we're doing tonight. And what you're doing tonight, you're tightening up the strings. You're trying to prevent urban sprawl, and I understand that. I understand it. And good development does not necessarily mean that you're not going to.
I just want to clarify, I'm not against, I think everybody should disclose.
I know that exactly. I know exactly where you stand. Thank you for listening to me, and hope you'll consider what I asked.
Okay?
My name is Meg Fleming. I live in Steinhatchee. First of all, I happen to agree with Mr. Rao that I think that all of these clauses that we currently have that have been continually modified through the years probably need to be looked at in whole so that each clause is in conjunction and working properly with all others. As a contract writer, I would do that myself. I can't imagine that I would allow a contract change to occur without a full review. So I do agree that that needs to be done. However, unlike Mr. Rao, I disagree that the property values would be decreased if they were required to put in infrastructure to support this type of division of property. And the reason I think that is because, obviously, if you have a piece of property that has full access for fire, power, sewer, water, emergency medical services versus a hopefully maintained, no offense to the county, but they're not always done, maintained road that is typically, at least in Steinhatchee a number of times, covered with large boulders or have grass on them or potholes, it just makes it that much more difficult to take care of the people that are going to move there. My biggest concern about this is that as a taxpayer, I listened for the last 38 days, all of you in conjunction at different meetings, talk about the fact that we don't have enough money for the infrastructure. If we possibly allow people now to go down this route without requiring them to put in the infrastructure, then I have to pay for it 15 years down the road when they continue to sell that property and you put the roads in. I'm the one that has to pay. Everybody has to pay here. But they've already reaped the benefit of this. And so I have a problem with any development getting done without the full infrastructure being put in. That's what I feel about that.
Councilor Howard, are you stand rising to approach us?
Yes, sir.
That's good, Mr. Conrad. My name is Trey Howard. I'm here for two reasons tonight. First reason is selfish. Hopefully, one day when my father passes on, he will leave me some land. No. I don't want him to pass on, but hopefully when he does,
T-R-E-Y.
I'm the only child of an only child, so maybe I'll get what little bit of land they've accumulated. How's that? Is that better?
That sounds better.
I'm sorry. I do not want my father to pass away. We're trying to build a house, and he's my only savior in the house. Building a house, a pregnant wife, and starting a new job, if that don't make you drink, I don't know what will.
So for clarification, you want to wait after the house is built, you're trying to say?
Right. But the first thing is, I'm being stingy, and I do also represent several developers that, all developers are stingy. But this will affect them as well, so I'm here for two reasons tonight. First off, I understand when I looked at what was sent to the Planning and Zoning Board for these, that this was done in an effort to maintain roads and create infrastructure. I truthfully believe that there are less restrictive means, as Darrell pointed out a while ago, to carry out these. Mr. Dale came up with some good ideas, and I think there are a lot of other people in the county that could come up with good ideas. I do think we need a way to maintain these roads. Mr. Bethea has stated that that homeowner associations don't work. Homeowner associations in the past haven't worked here, but that doesn't mean that we can't work with the county attorney, people in the community, to make a homeowner association that has some teeth to it. They are out there. Actually, the one that ITERA did up in north end of the county has some pretty big teeth in it. Has a way of collecting the fees. I don't know if you've seen it, Mr. Conrad, but there's money in there to collect if somebody doesn't pay, which I don't think was in the ones that you saw earlier. There are other ways to collect money to maintain roads than imposing this. You're looking at 15 acres is what we got now in this exemption on an existing road. Basically, in my mind, and Danny, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to bump it up to 40, but only 24 units, which, there's a magic number in there. I don't know what that is. But to me, it's already 15. That's worked in the past. That's a pretty big chunk of land. It's not to some of us in this room, but to a fellow that's lived in St. Pete all his life on a quarter acre, 15 acres is a big place. And he doesn't want to move up here to a paved road. He does, however, want to move up here to a nice road. He wants to move up here where he can come and go, two-wheel drive traffic, an ambulance can get to his house, fire truck can get to his house. And I believe there is a less restrictive means other than this exemption, than this amendment tonight. And I would ask respectfully that y'all vote no on this amendment, and that we do have a public workshop to create something else. Thank y'all for your time.
Anyone else?
You want to stand quick?
Yeah, they from us.
One last.
I'm getting questions from everyone. As long as you're not my wife, you can ask all the questions you want.
What's your last 32 meetings?
Well, Mr. Dale pointed out a couple. He pointed out homeowner association with a backup MSBU in it. It may be it's an MSBU. I don't have the solution right now, but I think it requires us to sit down. When I say us, I mean the community as a whole with the commissioners in a public workshop and come up with a less restrictive means. I'm sorry.
I don't have any problem. Allowing somebody to sell 15 acres. I don't have any problem with that. And, not having to have a paper, I don't have any problem with that. But when you start building houses, and, people, when they build a house, they're expecting fire department to show up.
Yes, sir. I
They're
understand.
expecting the ambulance to show up.
In Stuba.
And school.
And I know that beyond reason.
I believe in property rights and stuff, and, people ought to be able to ride your land, I know grinders employs land, but at the same time, what we're looking for is how do you ensure that you get, a homeowners association that does what it's supposed to when the state of Florida has recognized that homeowners associations don't work, that there are major problems with homeowners associations.
And that's a very valid point. There have been in the past.
So, I mean, we talked to, we had a public hearing on this, we had a workshop, and we had a lot of discussion, and I agree, maybe this is not the best option. One of the things we did talk about is like, down south at Honey, where the guys doing about 15-acre plots or something, or 5 acre, and there's an agreement that there's not going to be county services, and that you're not going to build on those. You're going to do trailers, and you're going to, honey trailers or something like that. You're going to have some type of sewage for it. But, what we got to look at is, if we're going to be expected to provide those services, and how do we do that without being a burden on the rest of the taxpayers of the community?
And I agree with you. I don't mean to interrupt you. We've talked before, and I think an MSBU is a wonderful thing. Some of the folks I work for don't think it's a wonderful thing. But in my heart of hearts, I believe that is a way, the money gets collected. The money's there. There's 100% private MSBUs available for a private road. And Mr. Conrad can shed some more light on that for us.
There is, but all that needs to be captured before you start some property.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. But if y'all enact this tonight, then it's gonna jump me up to 40 acres at my house. And that's y'all's option. I just would request that we do, if it takes setting up an MSBU for the private roads, then, to me, it's about compromise. Y'all want a way to take care of these roads, and I understand that wholeheartedly. I don't want my granddaddy to have to pay for somebody else. I want him to pay for his road and his part of the taxes, but I don't want him coming up here and having to pay his part of the taxes to build a road for some fellow coming up here buying a bunch of land. And I agree with Mr. Bethea on that. But by the same token, I also don't want this to be taken away from him. I mean, he would never sell, but if he did, this is a less restrictive option for him if that's what he wants to do. And I just hate to see that bumped up to 40 acres just because we want to get services. I'm sorry.
So you're proposing we leave it at 15 acres,
Yes, sir.
and that you can divide land into 15-acre tracts on private roads. But you're wanting the private road to be, for an MSPU to be set up, take care of the needs of the private road, rather than what's described here.
I would prefer that rather than the language we have here. Yes, sir.
How would you feel about that?
Well, the existing rule says it's on existing roads or easements, then you're exempt, Okay, once you get out of where you have existing roads or easements, then on the present rules, you've got to build a road, whatever you get in there, you're gonna get under the Swan River Water Management District rules that says that you got to have an ERP, someone has to maintain those roads, so either you're gonna have to go through the MSBB process, somebody's got to maintain that road, and we don't have to bring that road to a county level. The county's not going to accept no roads, I guarantee you, without an MSBU on it, it's already through county specifications.
I think the problem here is if you don't pass this, then you don't have an option because the rules say that if you have existing roads there, they don't have to come to us. They don't have to do anything. And so what we're doing is now setting us a methodology so the developers have to come and they have to come and look at our standards. But right now, all they have to do right now is come and take a review. The planning board say, yep, you're doing 15-acre lots. And there's logging roads out there, so you don't have to come, and so you don't have to do anything, and so they're above us now. In my research, Madison County has taken this opinion, Gulf County totally took it out. Crystal River, they looked at me and said, I forget what county Crystal River is. Citrus. They looked at me and she said, why are you even thinking that way? And basically, I'll just tell you a quick story of this commissioner, who I got to know real well. We discussed it about 2 hours, and the way she became commissioner was through this process. It's basically, she came, involved, and homeowners associations, no roads, no nothing, and the lady that she was having to help her neighbor try to take care of, she was having to take her to court. And so if you want good community, I have this in my district already, neighbors pointing at those people won't pay their dues. And so you just set up a lot of dynamics, a lot of things, and I think this is one of those areas we've had in our plan. We never foresaw the kind of development we're seeing today. And we've got to have some way to manage this development, because if we don't get the infrastructure in today, 15 years from now, whenever you have a 15-acre parcel that's subdivided, if they live there and they have 4 kids, and then, according to our rules, family rules, they can subdivide that, and now you've got, a number of homes on 15 acres and no roads to support that. Still, I think that's a key issue, and that's a burden we don't want to put, and that's not good enough.
I just want to comment, I'm not against changing the rules. Okay, but I feel like, and you said we had a public workshop on this, we had a non-understanding we discussed in the county commission meeting. And I don't think we had a advertised public hearing on it.
just going to summarize for the board what I read in both the comprehensive plan and the land development code. The comprehensive plan contains mandatory language that requires a building permit be eligible for property conveyed between family members. That's in the comprehensive plan. It treats such transfers as non-conforming parcels that shall continue to be eligible for the issuance of residential building permit, subject to setback and concurrency. The Land Development Code specifically exempts division of land among family members from submittal and recordation requirements for lot splits. The definition of minor development within the Land Development Code, in my opinion, is incapable of superseding the authority of the provisions of the comprehensive plan. In short, division of property among family members does not meet the definition of development requiring plating.
Okay, now, before Meg asks, I want to ask instead, translate that so everybody understands it, please. In a
Well,
sentence.
the comp plan says that family members can divide property and they will be eligible for a building permit. The Land Development Code can't supersede that.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
The LDRs cannot supersede.
Okay, and
Hang on 1 minute, Mr. Green, okay? Mr. Rouse, fix it up.
in any one of our land use districts, it has this language. And we're going to keep what you can be.
Where are you at, John?
I'm in section 42, 382, and it's in all the subsections. And it's also listed in, I got another reference I want to read to you also. And it's in all the district applications. And after it says not to exceed 1 unit per 10 acres, 2 acres, 5 acres. This transfer of property to members of the principals, owners, and immediate family is allowable without regard to the density and vegetation, provided that all other applicable requirements are met during development. So if you're going to require me to give them a 60-foot access out to on county road, yeah, I understand, but if it's 60-foot frontage, then it's a 60-foot access to the property. And here's where we talk about all three of the proposed changes that I have been concerned with. And I am not trying to, so, we do need to review the orders. But I feel like in its present written stage, we can do a better job. And if this is an example of what Bullwater Regional Planning Council can give us, then I recommend that go up and get a contract tonight. I would do it. I call the Bullwater.
Now, they did not create this language.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought what was said.
The land council did not create this language.
Okay. I said that was wrong. You know, look,
Some of us agree with you on that statement, so go ahead.
okay, and then in our, as it, one thing, we keep changing things and we don't say where we're coming from in our comprehensive plan. And I appreciate the board allowing me to serve on the planning and zoning board for about 10 years. I had selfish reasons, but I wanted to understand these rules and regulations so that they, my business, okay? I think I'm a better surveyor in the fact that I can go to the Bible and tell you what verse and chapter you need to look at. And on
Green, you have a question? Mr. Green? Mr. Green?
What you talking about, this density part and family part? And, I was in Trump County, and I had some property that was limited, like, all the others that were going to. And I didn't have enough land for my father-in-law and mother-in-law to move next to me. My father-in-law liked me real good for some reason, probably everywhere I went. But, when I went to do it, I couldn't get a permit. And they said the only way I could get a permit is go before the board, county commission, not zoning board, county commission, and state my case, the reason that I wanted them to be there, and what the purpose was. They couldn't be there just because I wanted them there. And they couldn't be there just because I had the land for them to be there, and had room for the septic. There had to be a reason for them to need to be there. So, we used the health reason, because their health was bad, and they were needing someone close to them to help take care of them. And that's the way they done their density part. If you wanted to, just go by the route, and if you're in a density part and you want to come bring it down, and you had to go before the board and give them a good reason. And if it wasn't a good reason, they wouldn't set it. So I was there tonight, they turned people down. Can't have it. But I had a reason, and they accepted my reason and granted it. But they said, when they die or pass away, then this land cannot be resold or redone. You got to move the trailer. We put a trailer on it, but there's no white trailer. And they said, you're gonna have to move it because it's no longer in effect. So they make them give good reasons, and the board, listens to what their reason for wanting it, where they wanted it at. In other words, if you got 10 acres, and you're going to want a family member there, and it's 1 to 5, well, why not put families in the other 5? That's the way they look at it. They didn't like it. And they were pretty well straight with it too. But if you go before the board and give your case, and then they would either accept it or not accept it. If they didn't accept it, you could get it.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Ma'am, anything else?
Just one thing, I have a personal problem with the issue of deeding to family members, because when the family members die, let's face it, we're all going, and they start to sell that property off, I'm back to the same problem of the county having to pay the road to get to that new house. And I just have a problem with that. So I would just suggest that if you're gonna look at these, pass what you have, build the group, and have them go look at the rest of the rules and code. If you choose not to do that, then I think you need to also put into place something that says, because we know this is an issue and something we want to resolve, we're gonna retroactive it back to this date of the commission meeting, or whatever the date of the second proposal, or something like that, because you have to kind of put a statement around it at some point, and say, this is what we mark down, to be built out of us, and to be paid for.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to pass the amendment as written.
Have a motion by Commissioner Page.
We're gonna have another hearing.
Way to go, Clay. Gary doesn't keep me on task quite as well as anybody does. He'd have popped you by now, so. Anything else? Sure, go ahead. Now, you don't want your dad to die or anything,
But I want him to outlive
just
me.
say hands up, he's in the back of the room, so he'll hear you firsthand,
I
so.
want him out.
We've already texted him, so don't worry.
We're working on it. If you text him, he figured it out.
Sorry about that, Keith, go ahead.
I've got one question, and then maybe just a brief suggestion. The 24 parcels that's referred to there, is that new parcels, or if we've got a road with 22 parcels on it, if we create 2 more parcels, does that kick us into the regulation?
Parcels is not my creation.
I don't know.
The way I would look at it, to interpret it, is if you
creating 24 new parcels on a road. But I think the intent of all this can be worked. The acreage, 15 to 40 acres, I'm not sure how that really solves the problem. I think you can leave it at 15 acres and create a workable road standard. We've got 4 standards out there now. I think the fourth, the graded road standard, maybe. You've got, paved, line rock, graded, so 3 standards. The graded road standard looks good for building a new graded road. It can't be applied on any existing roads, or most existing roads in the county. And I think you need to revisit that and maybe create a 4th that is a standard that you can apply to an existing road, bring it up to a passable standard. But I think you can work on that standard for the existing roads, keep it at 15 acres with a workable road standard. Any new development, the water management district's going to get involved, and through the RP process, they'll have some rules that will be more restrictive than anything I think y'all will be able to implement. But, I'd just like you to revisit these rules, and maybe there was a public workshop, I was able to attend it, but I think you need some more input. And maybe follow the lead of your planning commission, and they voted to at least look at that road standard and voted not to adopt these other amendments. And I'd like you to look at what they've done and follow that. Thank you.
Don, are you raising your hand or stretching? No problem. I didn't tell if you were trying to pay attention to this if you're stretching or what. Anything further? Item 20, the board to hold.
I didn't make that motion while ago, I just put it, recommend item 24. And it says, the board to consider setting a second public hearing on Tuesday, regarding passage of proposed ordinances. So, I reckon if the consensus of the board is to move on to the second hearing.
That's it.
Well, you could kill it tonight.
Yes, you could.
Okay.
It goes on to
Yeah.
the second. Second public hearing, where folks can express their opinion on the present.
Number 20, the board to hold the first of 2 public hearings set for this day, 6:25 p.m., concerning the amendment to LDC 06-2 regarding the flag lot design and road frontage, and to consider the first reading of the proposed ordinance adopting said amendment. Motion to read by title only.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Page, second by Commissioner Brown. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All, Conner, go for it.
An ordinance of Taylor County, Florida, amending the Taylor County Land Development Code is amended, adding a new section 42-720 entitled Lot Standards and Restrictions by adding a requirement that lots less than 10 acres shall not have a length greater than 3 times the width. That lots less than 10 acres in size abut a private or public road and has road frontage equal to the required lot dimensions in the zone district in which they are located, and defines a flag lot as being 10 acres or greater in size with a minimum of 60 feet width accessing a street, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict with the body of Texas state.
Anyone from the public wish to speak on this? Anyone else?
And I wrote, this was not my language here, I won't but the reason that, but it did come before me endorsement before that. The 10 acres is presently in the comprehensive plan as being
1, the board to hold the first public hearing set for this date at 6:30 p.m. or shortly thereafter concerning amendment LDC 06-3, regulating off-site sign size and location, and to consider the first reading of the proposed ordinance adopting said amendment. I'll entertain a motion to read by title only. Motion by Commissioner Brown, seconded by Commissioner Patterson. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Conrad?
Ordinance of Taylor County, Florida, amending the Taylor County Land Development Code as amended, amending section 42-461 entitled definitions, by adding the definition of signs, freestanding and signs, followed by amending section 42-466 prohibited signs, by deleting the prohibition of ground and pole signs and deleting the prohibition of pole signs 20 feet from height and 200 square feet in size, amending section 42-468 off-site signs by adding the requirement that off-site signs cannot exceed 32 square feet and are limited to one sign per parcel or lot, and amending section 42-465 permit exemptions by adding language that allows small portable signs on non-motor county right-of-ways if the sign is relevant to the adjoining property, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict with providing an effective date.
Anyone from the community wish to speak to this one? Diane?
I can hardly understand that, but is it anything to do with big ugly billboards?
Yeah.
So does it allow big ugly billboards so that we can look more like South Florida here? That seems to be what people want to do, is be more like, lose our rural heritage and look more like places people are escaping from.
Actually, if I understand correctly, and I could be wrong, it's more restrictive, correct, Conrad?
It's more like a brief overview of the changes, please. And these are wholly my fault.
For the record, Danny said it was totally his fault, so.
We won't believe that.
The, a part of this was just correction of the code where there were conflicting sections and portions were moved to the definition section where they belong. The main changes are that off-site signs are going to be limited to 32 square feet in size and limited to one sign per parcel or lot, which makes them much less intrusive, and you can't have a dozen of them scattered along one piece of property. The other change was actually spoken to and addressed by the board at an earlier time, and they expressed their desire to allow portable signs such as realtor signs that have relevance to the adjoining property. So that was included in this so we could do it all at one time. Those are the only real changes. There was no outline.
So, let me ask you a question, Ben. What this does is eliminate the large Wendy's, Hampton Inn billboard signs. There will be no more.
Off-site.
Off-site.
Well, on-site would be on the same property that the business is located.
I have a billboard sign up like 19 North. I think it says.
Okay, now let me address that.
Stage Road.
Yeah, now the code presently and will still exempt signs that require a state or federal permit.
Oh, okay.
So this is on county roads, essentially.
Beach Road, Bucket Road.
Right, correct.
This is county roads.
Yes.
Basically, this is referred to, gets into the beaches area.
See, actually. Did I explain it to you better, Diane?
It's what you want.
I do need to attend a shoot copy workshop. I hope you'll have more. I think citizens probably need to be educated as we all do about codes and what's happening.
In essence, it's making it more restrictive, so you won't see more of these up on county roads. Now, state roads, we don't control, so. Okay? Yeah. Anyone else? Before we go to the next one, since these are getting lengthy, does the board want to break, or?
Just keep going.
All right. Number 22, board to hold the first public hearing, set for this day, 6:35 p.m., concerning amendment LDC 0604, the number of lot threshold for paving roads, and to consider the first amendment reading of the proposed ordinance. Motion to read by title?
No, sir.
If y'all would indulge me, this item was tabled by the planning board. I don't know that it would be proper for the board here. I doubt that it would be. There was not a vote recommending to deny. It was tabled. Therefore, there was no recommendation. They based it primarily on the fact that the graded road standard was not available to the public for a minimum of 10 days prior to the hearing before the planning board.
Second.
A motion to table, second by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Patterson.
And I was unsure what to do. That's why I'm standing here saying. Right, and just re-advertise it and, right.
Clay has a question, you ask your question. Do we need a motion to table or just let it go? Sorry.
I think by the consensus of the board that there was a problem with the advertisement.
Ms. Pat, Jack, you move your motions? Motion withdrawn.
And there wasn't a problem with advertising. The problem was that they did not have a drawing 10 days prior, they only had 2 days prior.
The planning board attorney's advice to the planning board was that the public should have been able to view this graded road standard 10 days prior to the meeting. And based on that primarily, now they may have had other reasons, but they chose to table it in lieu of recommending to deny it.
Do we have to advertise again?
It has to be totally done over again.
The 10 days, do we have to advertise the 10 days that it's available for review now?
Well, if it's a part of the packet, then it's available to review. That's not a problem. The board also understands that this proposed amendment is fairly intertwined with 06-1 and that the impacts are related.
The reason for this, it wasn't advertised first, right? But the reason for this was we're going to take away a 15-acre exemption. This is in rural development, we really want to line off. We want to go to our line off standards. The whole purpose of this is to kind of help out the developer on the 15 acres. In other words, to give them something that's more powerful, which is graded road standard, which holds up quite well in the county.
Item number 23, the board to hold the first of 2 public hearings set for this date at 6:40 p.m. concerning amendment LDC 06-5, allowing rail lines outside of the industrial land use category, and to consider the first reading on the proposed ordinance adopting said amendment. Motion to read by title.
Motion to read by title.
Motion by Commissioner Patterson, by Commissioner Page. All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Conrad.
Taylor County Park, amending the Taylor County Land Development Code, submitted amendment section 42-408, subsection 9C, 42-408, subsection 11, 1, and 42-408, entitled Use Group, by amending the definition of public service utility by adding railroad right-of-ways at the leading distribution line serving 69 kV or less, and deleting right-of-way and tracks from the definition of small-scale industrial and deleting electricity substations and distribution lines greater than 69 kV from the definition of industrial, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Oh, I'm sorry, anybody want to speak to this? I forgot. Diane?
I have another question. Does, 2 questions. First, does this make it easier for the proposed coal plant to do business in Taylor County?
Danny, well, I would assume as much. I would answer that question, yeah.
Well, I think it would keep the board from having to change 69 kV or greater power line right-of-ways, railroad track waterways, we have to pass by that industrial, if we don't change it. So, and from a paperwork standpoint, it probably makes it easier.
But you don't want that deemed industrial, because once you deem it industrial, then what you're gonna do is anywhere on that track, if somebody wants to come in and put an LDR, since it's contiguous, you can put an industrial site there. In other words, easier for them to get an industrial site there, you don't want to make that whole area an industrial site.
I heard that at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I also heard that it is industrial. The argument put forth in the amendment language was that you wanted to avoid having slivers of industrial property on someone's agricultural or rural residential, et cetera. And so a sliver might be however wide you need and no more. It's hard to imagine much industry on a sliver. So that would be my question there, to the validity of that. I hear what you're saying.
Here's one example. It's zone industrial, and they went through running a mud bogging track down that right away. It just runs right through your neighborhood, and it's zone industrial. And they got mud bogs that go right through your
I appreciate that. However, I've heard much discussion here about allowing things, and so I would wonder that that would be a realistic, although somewhat fear-producing. I would question your example as being a valid one. But I understand what you're saying, and I feel that we have a habit of, of such responses. My second question had to do with the ease of the paper shuffle. Now, I hear you saying now that it would be easier for the commission not to have to come and hear that.
That's my opinion. We got our, Taylor Energy Center folks here. They can speak to whether it'd be easier for them. I think it'd be easier if we do it the way we got the soldiers.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Reppel. I'm an attorney from Tallahassee representing the participants in the Taylor Energy Center. And I've been following this amendment to the land development regulations because we will require a rail spur and some transmission lines associated with the Taylor Energy Center. And so this is of interest to us. First, I would say from a policy perspective, you do not want slivers or ribbons of industrial zoning throughout the county wherever you have rail lines or transmission lines. And in fact, it's my understanding that your existing rail lines and transmission lines, in fact, are not zoned or are not in industrial districts. And in fact, I'm advised by Mr. Greiner and others that they don't recall why this provision or when this provision got into the LDRs, and that doesn't seem to make sense. And it doesn't, for exactly the reason that Commissioner Bethea mentioned. If you have these ribbons of industrial districts running through your county, then any property owner along that ribbon of industrial district can make the argument that they should be rezoned industrial because they are now consistent with the adjacent land use, which is this industrial ribbon. So it opens you up for some mischief in the future. But perhaps more importantly, from my perspective, from a legal perspective, is that this revision to your land development regulations is required to bring it into compliance with statute. Under Chapter 163, there is a definition of development that can be regulated by comprehensive plans and land development regulations. Certain activities are exempted from that definition of development. Both the creation of rights-of-way and the construction of rail lines and power lines, among other things, are exempted from that definition of development. And that is because it wouldn't benefit any of us if every local government could impose different regulations on these linear facilities that go through multiple local government jurisdictions. And that is why the Public Service Commission has been given exclusive authority to regulate the transmission power grid, for example. And the Department of Transportation has authority to regulate the rail lines. And both of those authorities, because they are condemning authorities, they have the power of eminent domain, they have oversight by the courts. They can't just go in and condemn, place one of these linear facilities wherever they want with no oversight. The court looks at whether they have considered things like land use, environmental impacts, alternative routes, safety, planning, future planning. And so there is oversight for these activities, but the legislature has not given that oversight to local governments for good reason. And so again, I think the overriding legal reason to adopt this amendment is to bring your land development regulations into compliance with Florida statutes. Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none, I'll go to the next public hearing. If you would, indulge me real quick while we're here. Number 24, the board considers setting second public hearings on the Tuesday, October 17, 2006, regarding the passage of the above proposed ordinances. Motion by Commissioner Buffet, second by Commissioner Brown. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
If the board will indulge me one more. Number 33, Green Street paving update. Can you get that now so the staff wants to say they can? Sure. Can I set a paving one now?
Yes, sir. We are finishing our construction, the plans and the layout. We have, our goal is to finish the design by October, to have an RFP ready to bring to the board for approval by mid-October, early October, mid-October. Have the board approve it, and once the board has approved it, to advertise it. Once the advertisement is complete, we plan to have our bids received by December.
No, finished by, if I remember correctly, December 2008. Is that right?
I would have to go back and look at that documentation.
What we had was, originally, going out to fall and, January, and spring, and sort of.
I think we were officially awarded the bid though after July, the fiscal year started this year for the state of Florida, if I remember correctly, but we can verify that. Make sure that we're in good shape. Ken and I have talked about it, Lynn, and we feel comfortable we can get it done.
Just try to make sure we set that timeline up.
That's both your projects that timelines all right now.
And I can tell you that that project is on the top of the list.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. Back on track, number 12, the board received an update on the Department of Community Affairs, DCA. The issues were requested by the board on September 7, 2006. Comment?
We, Commissioner Bay and I and Bob Shirley had a telephone conference with the attorney for DCA. We didn't get very far with them, but we did request that we have an audience with Valerie, I can't remember her last name. Valerie. I'm gonna call Valerie.
remember, Dan, we do have to check, make sure that doesn't have a four-lane highway. I'm wondering if it has two lanes coming out, one coming out east, one coming out Steve Hampshire or something like that, I don't know. That was one of our things. And I'll tell you, I was very disappointed in that conversation. I really would like to go even look at this. Attorney, I'd like to get over this society and figure out how to negotiate. She had no negotiations.
It was the negotiation.
Well, should we request another meeting?
We're gonna, the board agrees, it's gonna be Conrad, myself, and Chip, and Rob. That we'll go up, and we're gonna try, Mallory spoke very positive, that, hey, if we can show this, it's sort of a bit different. Mallory should have gone back to the same concept that there was, County Marks was going back to the same idea, that there was there, it was for, and, one of the questions I have, we got into the situation because DCA asked us to clarify how it has this area.
It came about as part of the EAR process, I couldn't give you a specific time or date when that first.
I would like us to do documentation to find out why my understanding, we were asked to clarify this. This is not something this board decided.
I don't have any information there, I'm certain for that. What they're pointing to is documentation that they provided from the initial adoption of the comprehensive plan, where they recognize it 4 units per acre.
As I recall, the meeting we had at DCA, it was video today. And does anyone have any information that we did that video today? People who were there. What you hear, Diane?
What was the question?
Who was in the videotape?
We did a videotape.
George may have a videotape. Do you need it for the policy?
We sure would like to make a copy of it. You could ask her about that. I'll appreciate it. Give me a call, okay?
Anyway, if the board will allow us to go up and try to discuss the Valor one more time. But, I was very disappointed, Kim. I was very disappointed. She's right out of the gate. There's nothing here. I was looking at line up and talking back up here. That's literally the way.
I have no objection to you and Mr. Sheffield and Conrad. This from DCA.
I have no objection.
What's your name again?
Should have answered, but I'm not.
Connor, what's her name, please? Kelly?
Martin.
Doc?
Well, it wasn't actually a meeting, all it was a meeting, and we did it by telephone, discuss the issues, and, Valerie was not there, and Valerie is the one that was, making the decision, on the sidewalk, not correct.
Valerie making the decision.
Valerie makes final decision.
And Valerie was the only voice of reason that was down here.
At the mediation, but everybody was there, and so that's, we want to talk to Valerie, because we made some representations as to what Valerie had said.
And the rest of the staff here, would not acknowledge that there was even a possibility that they had to say.
And another thing for information, that the people are here, there were different folks that were there at the meeting with DCA as opposed to who we're talking to on the phone, because Kevin Martinson was not at the meeting with the DCA. The first meeting that the public. That's the other reason why I want to be. It's a video.
Did I shut up her? And as I recall, we didn't get a good explanation about why she wasn't there.
Doc?
I didn't get that.
The board will recall when we were asking, I requested that the follow-up mediation
33, Green Street. Hearing none, we'll have a 5-minute recess. I asked the full board before I did that, though. Yeah.
Good, how are you?
Saw you downtown the restaurant the other day.
Yeah, I meant to speak with you. I saw you over there on the computer, I said,
No, I'm not. I'm trying. I'm getting there. After using every day, whether I am or not.
well, anyway, good to see you.
You too. You too. I thought, what she said, was your son with you then, or was that somebody from work or something? There was a young guy with you and I.
Oh, no, no, no.
golden. I'm tired of it, you know? And I'm just a little fella. I'm not one of these big zillion guys.
I know, it's disappointing.
You know,
And it's the same thing every game, the same thing over and over and over.
and he won't take responsibility for it. He like for instance, he wouldn't let Weatherford audibilize against Clemson because he said he audibilized wrong against Troy, but if he'd audibilized correctly, we probably would have beaten Clemson. And then Mickey Andrews let some, that was, and Mickey Andrews, who I love, but every third down play, we rush through. We put in our dime package, and we don't get to the quarterback. And if you'll notice that game, every time on first and second down when he threw the ball, and we were in his face, he did not complete a pass.
Right. You're right. You're right.
It's just,
If they would have started right off the bat, putting pressure on him, and just kept every play. He'd got so shaken up he wasn't going to do anything.
it's
He'd
unbelievable.
been worried about covering his butt instead of completing a pass.
Right. There comes, what Sonny says is it's time to take the keys away from the old man. If he's not gonna get rid of the deadwood. And I hear people tell me that he's arrogant and he's a terrible recruiter because he's so arrogant. And the fool doesn't have anything to be arrogant about. He wasn't a good football player. He caught one pass.
Yeah, he's a terrible coach.
He's a terrible coach. I wouldn't, if every day you came up here to the meeting and there were 25 people who said you were a terrible road superintendent, after a while you say, I quit.
I've had enough.
I'm going to give you another job. Same is true.
I can carry water out of my field.
Same is true with my job, you know. Everybody came up and says, no, you're not doing your job, Conrad. I'm going to get another job.
Yeah, I heard that.
Brd, County Development Authority, to appear to request adoption of resolution supporting passage of the economic development ad valorem tax existing referendum career. Motion by Commissioner McCain, second by Commissioner Page. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Number 14, Brd PCA, to appear to request board consideration of proposed ordinance that would benefit eligible existing businesses. Is there a motion or do you want to discuss?
My name's Rick Breer. I'm with the TCDA. This sales tax exemption for electricity, I tried to put everything in your package that was pertinent, including a statement from the Department of Revenue covering our situation of where you do not charge a municipal utility tax. In their reading of whether our businesses within the enterprise zone would be eligible under those circumstances. So I'm here to answer any of your questions. It appears to me in my organization that it's at no cost to you and a benefit to potential benefit to our eligible businesses. And I am here to ask your consideration for passing an ordinance which will require a public hearing.
Any example of the?
There is no cost to the taxpayers. This is just for the businesses that are in our enterprise zone that are in the county, not in the city. City charges a municipal utility tax. This would be apply only to businesses in the county that are in the enterprise zone. advertise for a public hearing, yes, yes.
A motion and a second, I have a question. Give us an example of a business, please.
This would be any non-manufacturing business, because the manufacturing business does not need to be in an enterprise zone to be already eligible for this.
Can you give us an
So,
example of a business that you know, or can you not do that?
oh no, I could give you
I missed this meeting, so that's all.
discount pool supply, which is in the county. Your hardware store in Steenhatchee.
All in motion? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
So this hat here goes to the state.
I'm gonna review the ordinance, I might change a couple of things that I may not, and then I'll also prepare the notice for it.
All these, your next act.
I think we just need to.
We got the review. Number 15, the board to consider release of appropriate funds FY 05-06 in the amount of $200,000 requested by Rick Greer, PCA. Motion by Commissioner Page, second by Commissioner Brown. All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Sorry, I'm making stand back up. Number 16, the board to discuss the community contribution proposal from the Taylor County Energy Center as presented by Buddy Humphrey, County Administrator.
Like you said, that was submitted to me, you've got a copy of it in your packet, and, this is their counter proposal, for lack of a better term, from your last discussion that you had with them.
Is there discussion and or motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
let me go over the benefit of public. The community contribution proposal that we received back from the Taylor Energy Center. The $100,000 contribution from the Taylor Technical Institute remains the same, what we asked for. The federal Taylor Energy Center community fund is included in this proposal, $10 million, that's what we asked for. Funding for the county, year construction, at $1 million a year, that's been added. The annual contribution has been increased to $3 million for the first 30 years, estimated 3.5% per year. This is more than their original proposal. We eliminated the community fund management board. The board decided that these funds should be administered by the county commission. Go back and tell them five. Pardon? Let's give them five.
Give them five.
An annual contribution for 30, for years 31 through 40. No contribution in the original proposal for that. But that's been added at $1 million a year for those years 31 through 40. Number 8, the intended use of the funds is broadly defined. And as I mentioned earlier, the distribution of these funds will be determined by the Board of County Commissioners and not some appointed group of people. It's not part of the budget, our proposal is as well. But I think it's a fair proposal. It's better than the initial proposal. Mr. Chairman, I can vote for it.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that informal.
So that's present value for, thank you, sir.
Second for discussion.
What's net present value for?
The NPV of the first 30 years is comparable to the NPV the first time. We restructured the deal. The NPV on the, sorry? Oh, well, you want to know the number? The NPV is, let's see, excuse me, is about $63,811,000 total. Nominal value of the total package is $179 million.
And that's including the last 10 years.
Yes, that's correct.
So if you put the last 10 years in there and do the nominal value, it's actually less than the first proposal.
It's just virtually a push with respect to nominal value at the first time. What we did, obviously, is we took the proposal made by the board. We went back to take a look and see what we could do to look at your concerns and look at what we were trying to put together from the project perspective. And clearly, from our perspective, there were some significant issues that we felt we were losing from a project basis. Most specifically, originally, we felt that we were going to have more participation as a community group with respect to administration and, in fact, some ownership with respect to the administration of the trust fund, those types of things, which you thought brought a great deal of value to the project. We went back and said, what can we do within those bounds and see what you all needed? This gets back to the whole proposal we talked about originally that was originally negotiated is what can we do from a project perspective and what can we afford to do and make it work? We restructured in order to meet the requests of the board to the extent that we could and meet both your criteria and the criteria that we felt we could do. Because obviously what we want to do is be a strong community partner, meet your concerns to the best we can, and meet the project's objectives as well.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just curious what discount rate you use for each thing. 5%. I was trying to look up my own, what was the other net presentation?
60,378.
And what will happen at this point, we'll have a contract between the county and TEC and
We'll follow up on the contract once we have all the business terms, we'll come back with agreement.
$11 million is $14,000.
In other words, you're taking a, open the door.
Well, and they are too, because they'll get a permit, they have to buy land somewhere else to construct, and they need to liquidate that asset, and be able to buy somewhere else, I'm assuming. And that's how we're supposed to do.
I wish you could me off, I didn't know what you're talking about, stop because there's something about $30 million. And y'all keep talking about $179 million. And this interest rate, you can't figure it on that.
We're not talking about $30 million.
All we were talking about net present value, just a way for us to analyze where you do something like this over many years, it's just a way for us to analyze it in today's dollars. And every time they give us an offer, if we put it in a net present value formula, it just gives us a way to take a look at those dollars. That's all it is. It's an interest rate, you can show the 4%, 5%, 10%, as long as you use the same interest rate over all the criteria, that's all we do.
But every time I read something, it says,
And in reality, that's what it will be. Clay's using, and I agree with Diane on this, net present value loses me. I mean, show me the actual dollars, which is what the overall proposal does. And I understand the overall dollars. The net present value loses to me, so.
All the net present value does for us, if they give me $1 million the first year, and then year 30, they give me $170 million, or if they distribute through the whole, it tells me where the value is.
what I'm still stating and hung up on is you still taking the closing cost.
Well, I think any business does an analysis, and we've done an analysis, and the land transaction is not ours. Land transaction is ours. That's not ours, that's between both.
I disagree, because if we didn't have this agreement, then they will still buy the land with or without the agreement, so it's gonna go off the rolls. This gives us money when it goes off the rolls, if they build a plant. If they did not give us this agreement, and they buy the property, we have nothing. So if nothing, if anything, we're providing a safety net that we will get something if a plant is built. We don't get anything either way if they don't build a plant. If they buy the land, build the plant, their taxes in, they don't pay anything. If they build the land without an agreement, and buy the land without an agreement, and then build the plant without an agreement, we get nothing. So all the commission's doing is setting up, when they break ground, we will get something.
I think the issue is the tax exemption is in place regardless
Exactly.
of whether or not they build, they don't build. That has nothing to do with Taylor County.
Thanks.
That has to do with the fact that it's an electrical utility in the country. It has nothing to do with us. So we're not going to get the money anyway. So what they tried to do was to make a deal that said, look, if you want to come to our county, just be good citizens and help us with additional funding for the things that we're going to need, like infrastructure and things like that. So I think that's what it actually is. And then the hundreds of bills that you hear about, a lot of that has to do with the extended benefits of the county too.
Thanks, that's why it makes it helping. She can tell me my research first this week.
I'll be 80 years old by the time we get all that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are they collecting tax on the land from whoever owns it now?
$14,000 for the total land per parcel
Per year?
per year.
Okay, if they buy it and they will build, and the county doesn't get any money, then they still have to pay any taxes every year.
And when you say it one more time, we can't control a private land deal.
But not paying taxes is a different program.
But
I tell you what, the 3,500 acres we're talking about here is nothing compared to the hundreds of thousand acres that our state owns in our county, and they don't pay any taxes on, and that's why we have some of the tax bills we have.
it's still a separate issue. What we're trying to do is make sure once they build a plant, the community gets a return for it. You could go out and buy the 3,400 acres. There's nothing we can do to stop it. I'm just telling you, we don't control the land sale. No, they're not paying taxes because they're exempt regardless of where they buy. They can buy here, they can buy in Tallahassee, and they're going to be exempt. They can buy anywhere in the state, and they are exempt.
Commissioner, I think this is a sidebar conversation between,
Number 26, the board will further discuss extension of cemetery rolling contract with Tip Top Services reagenda from September 7, 2006. Who reagenda this? You did. Okay.
I'll give you an update. There was some question at the last board between one of the cemeteries and some damage that had occurred at the cemetery over years. Andy and I met with Mr. Rao.
Hang on a second.
Okay.
I know what the board, thank y'all for your proposal.
Well, thank you all.
I meant it before Clay told me to thank y'all for bringing it back.
We think this is just the first of many good things.
Go for it, buddy.
Yeah, all right, that's all right. After the last meeting, we met with Mr. Rao representing the church and Mr. Lundy, the pastor at Pleasant Grove. We went out there and assessed the damage. The contractor agreed to fix what he thought that he had damaged. Once that's done, myself and Andy will go out there and meet with Mr. Lundy, and if there's further damage that he felt like he hadn't caused, then you authorized me at the last meeting for the county to repair that damage. That's where we are. That's the facts on that particular issue. If we renew this contract, we're going to renew it less. We will not do, contract does not want to do Pleasant Grove Baptist Church Cemetery.
Is there a provision in the contract we can remove that and lower the?
I'm sure there is. I've got a copy of the contract. And there's one more that somebody said that they wanted removed, and I looked for the document. I don't know if Paul is still here. I looked for the document and can't find it, but if they do, we'll be more than happy to remove it. And I think if you accept this and extend the contract, those two should be removed. One of them doesn't want any public assistance, right? Only the one. And I'm looking for it. Yeah, that's fine. That's correct. That's correct. Well, I think we can do a better job as a county, and that's my office and Andy's, that we have written documentation on a monthly basis on the cemeteries that are mowed and what was done and if the damage was caused, and then we can report that to the board, or we can have it in the file if anybody, like Mr. Rao, would like to see it. That kind of eliminates the problem of he said, she said. And we should do that and do a better job at that. Now, what do we do with Pleasant Grove is an issue that you have to resolve. Do you want to go out for a separate contract for Pleasant Grove? We agree. He should measure up to his contract. Every contract we have should be measured up to. Yes. No, we have not. I haven't done anything to talk to the board tonight. We haven't discussed anything with them as far as a figure.
Make a motion to approve the contract. Discussion. We have a motion. Is there a second discussion? Second discussion. Go ahead.
My concern is, once the contract, and then we approve this, take the Pleasant Grove out for him and start, or the other contract, start
correct.
And it names the cemeteries in the contractors, paragraph 3, for lack of a better term. And then there's
Some additional mowing.
no parking and walking areas on the following cemeteries, which are not all the same cemeteries.
Correct.
And then it talks about right of way, so it specifically gives what areas of the county it's going to be, that they're going to be done. My suggestion, I don't know if you're going to like this suggestion or not. I'm going to make it anyway. Yeah, I think you need to read that contract.
Some of it's changed, some of it's getting better, some of it's being cemetery. So, all it's changed. But I really think it does a good sheet. But, certainly get it, probably, we appreciate the way it was up and taken out, it was too, it wasn't just mine, it was 9 weeks and a half. We worked for a month, trying to get it clear. I don't know if they think we'll do it. It's always a little clear, but we should. Because they can't do a decent job on ours, if they're not going to do that, we're going to do it all.
Okay. Heard council, we have a motion and a second to approve.
Well, I can only tell you what Andy's told me and what I've seen personally, and then I can only say what I saw at Pisgah. There was damage at Pisgah. Some of it was obviously caused by mowers and weed eaters. Pleasant Grove, I'm sorry, Pleasant Grove. And some of it, the contractor said, we obviously did it. Some he disagreed with. He said he couldn't have done it. And it was a he said, she said type of deal. That's why the county was willing to go in there and meet with Preacher Lundy and talk about it later to try to repair it. I do think this, I think that Mr. Rowell is correct, that the price is way too cheap for the requirements that we have in this contract. But that's not your problem, that's the contractor's problem. People expect a lot at their cemeteries, and we have more phone calls probably about cemeteries than we do anything else. I suspect if you do it right and monitor the contract like I'm talking about monitoring, you'll see this contract come in around $50,000. That's my handy mind. That's a guess. And I know it's better than it was when I first started, since he's had this, than it was with the previous contractors. But it's still not to the point where we should be. Expires this month. And has renewal. That was an agreement between Mr. Rowell and him at the meeting. It just would not work now.
We can't start pulling out different cemeteries. We pulled Indian Springs out, we pulled Knox Short out, but we didn't rebuild somebody else.
No, they were pulled out of the request of the cemetery committee. No, he did not request that. No. That's correct. That's correct.
This contract's expired anyway, so we can renew it, and I don't mind renewing it, but we need to renew it with all those different, and then if he decides he doesn't want to do that, we can renew it. But I mean,
Pleasure of the board.
renewal is okay because he's done a better job than all those people we've had in the past. But he needs to take a package for us to do it. That's my notion.
I feel that we're changing the dynamics. We need to follow council and we did.
Well, but I'm not.
But, so all you wanted left in there then?
He wants it left in, let it ride.
Well, he is in contact, now let me stick up for, yeah. It's split up into equal payments by contract. Rebid it. He just did that where he would have consistent payments throughout the year for his business, his cash flow. That's the reason he did it that way. I'm sure he did. I mean,
Well, no meeting, the rules shall be completed every 3 weeks.
Key, you got a question? And that would say he can go out to the debris every 3 weeks and something else, right?
I don't think it's specific to mowing. I think he's supposed to be, because it's pick up limbs, trash, whatever. Every 3 weeks, do that.
Mag?
In the contract, I think it says mow every 3 weeks.
So if I'm saying meeting, the contract says he'll be out there every 3 weeks checking on it.
this is the same contract this Board of County Commissions had for forever. Years, yeah.
Meg, I think it was on board that for you. All right. All right, Meg has the floor.
The direction of the board that was in, that was, in place at that particular point in time.
Well, I think you have an opportunity here, which would be to have to produce a statement of work that says, here's what you're gonna do over the course of the 12 months. Do you want this type of mowing, here's your criteria that says you've done it properly, here's how we're gonna monitor it, and here's how you get paid. They're 4 different things. They're not mowing and you get paid a dollar amount over 12 months. That's a very, very loose, simple, easy to apparently. That you are contract, so. And if you don't want to mow in the winter, it's not like a smart move, that's what they ask.
We can monitor the contract, that's, we can do a better job at monitoring that, but the decision tonight is, do we want to go with the existing contract for another year and do a better job as a county in monitoring and see if we can do that, or do we want to rebid it?
All right, you got a motion,
What's that, Jack, now? I don't know, it was, I just don't know. We don't know till we ask our contractor. I don't care. Makes no difference to us.
Okay, debris state.
Only thing I would also remember was Pleasant Grove Church, and also on their property, we have a nuisance cemetery that is And if there's a concern about damages, that if you're gonna revisit it anytime you are, that would perform, something so that things get damaged, there's a little bit of like this. Operate equipment, people operate equipment, something's gonna happen once in a while, and these are very special signs.
General liability insurance, the contracts maintain general liability insurance that is $70 over the county harmless, the contractor's negligence with the county additional insurance.
And that's a good point, and I think everybody out there agreed that some of the damage was caused by the contractor, some of the damage could have been caused by other people that visit the cemetery. There's lots of things that could happen, and nobody, not Pleasant Grove and not Henry, could defend their position 100%. They just felt like that they weren't doing their job, and they had documented times where he was supposed to be there, and they thought he wasn't, and he had phone calls where he had done his work there. So we just need to do a better job of monitoring it, and you know, if you want to extend, the contract expires, and it says in the contract, you have a 1-year extension period if that's what you want to do. It makes no difference to Andy and I just telling you the facts. That's what we think. Oh, yeah. Sure, if he's not performing, you can pull it. He does. It's now his point of contact is Andy. I know, but I'm talking about him reporting the day-to-day operations. I can count them for you right quick. Yes, sir. About 23, 22, 23. That's exactly right. You get what you pay for.
I just want to make a few comments. We're going to cemetery, and I thought I'd written all of the sand deal whenever I was born between my house and granddaddy's house. I found cemeteries this past year that I was there because of this. So if you do rebid this, I think you look for double. I agree. That's why I'm saying what's not rebid. And so,
If the county, let me just read one more thing, and then y'all make a decision for that. If the county determines that the performance of the contract is not satisfactory, the county shall have the option of immediately terminating the contract or notifying the contractor of the deficiency with a requirement that the deficiency be corrected within a specified time. Failure to correct such deficiency in a specified time will result in the contract being declared in default and the contract may be terminated. The contract is terminated for cause before performance is complete. The contractor shall be paid for the work he has satisfactorily accomplished to establish the contract is default. Get out from there. So you can get out. You have the option to terminate it.
Let Buddy and Andy monitor it closer, but I do think we ought to ask them to do Pleasant Grove.
No, we want a motion. Please reread it.
The motion was to renew the contract with Tip Top. The motion was made by Commissioner Bethea and seconded by Commissioner Brown. The motion to renew contract with Tip Top. Second for discussion.
I'd like to see the motion amended that you renew it, allow them to renew it, and when we say we're renewing it, that includes Pleasant Grove.
You change the contract then.
You've done that before. People requested a cemetery taken out. You've taken the cemetery out without all the contract.
Because he had bid on it already. Oh, sure, we can put any controls on any contractor that you want to.
I think it would be very useful right there, I think, I'm trying to look at Andy, I'm going to read the arm there. I think it'd be very easy, just take a spreadsheet,
All in favor say aye. All opposed, I'm sorry. I have a comment too, I can't technically vote since it's not a tie, but I'll let us read that. Go ahead. I'll say I can. Oh, I can? Good, I'm against it. No problem. I'm against it. I just wanted to make sure, our board rules have no voice of vote, but I'm one of the votes, I want to read that. Cool, we're good, yeah.
The amendment to the motion was that you got an agreement to continue to.
Do all of them.
That's fine, I want us to read it now.
Let's read into the contract right now.
It's the right thing to do, so.
All right.
No, Dale had a comment.
My comment is that every time we call in, I'm on the cemetery committee, and every time funeral, things like that, I'll call Andy that we need to know. He has one of the noted and done a very good job. In 2000 or somewhere on there, we had a family reunion at the church every year. And all we went out in the cemetery, we had 5 grandparents, 5 generations. He went out and straightened every dead on and put some in that cemetery. We had that in the little house out on but anyway, they went out and straightened every headstone, they went out to us and made, all of the history of the family in the cemetery, all of people went out and looked at the 5 generations of our family that's buried there. But I did like to say that Andy's done an excellent job of responding to our homecoming here past June. You know, he made sure there was no one about the sidewalk. And a lot of times it does get weeds and screwed up out there.
Anytime we have a funeral, the funeral home generally contact Andy or directly to our contractor and say, we've got a funeral at so-and-so, would you go out there and make sure that it's presentable for the family? And he's never, ever failed, even last minute, some of y'all involved in this call, at the last minute to go out there and do that. When he does that, that takes time away from the 3-week cycle that he's running at another cemetery. So, I just don't want to beat Henry up here.
I don't want to be anything against it, I'm not going to be Henry up, so I like it a lot. I mean, I don't. I want to be clear, I'm not against Henry, the contract, I mean, I just think it's businesses, like Jack said, we can just look at it from the business side of it. I don't see how one, he's making a profit, and two, it's just, we start changing it, I'd like to see us get it out. I mean, I don't want anyone to see that I'm against Henry. Pulling stuff out and putting it in, we're going on to the next item.
The motion carried.
The motion carried. The motion carried to renew the contract for all cemeteries, but not including the one we pulled out the past, right? We pulled out Henry.
No, Henry's in there. Yeah, Henry's in there now.
Actually, we pulled one out, I'm sorry. I apologize. Moving on, though, passed 3-2. Number 28, the board to consider fiscal year 2007 agreement between the county and the North Central Florida Regional Planning Council. We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Calling for a second for the second time.
Second, we're going out for.
We have a motion and a second.
I don't like it, but do I have choice?
I think we're going up for bid, before we can get anybody else. I don't like it, but we didn't get any bids, and we're still trying to hire a planner.
I think we should hire a planner.
We're trying.
My concern is that the North Central Florida Regional Planning Council represents the DCA more than they do the county.
Hey, we have all the ties to that.
And we never say them, we are adversaries, our
$20,000.
Yeah, but the bottom is that we're not going to be against us.
Well, they do help us on some. There are some things that we have definitely felt that they represented somebody's point of view other than ours.
They can't like conflict down those things, kind of, we have to come to the town.
There's still like this incestuous relationship on this area.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Aye. Carries 4-1. Number 28, number 29, the board receive bid committee recommendation for impact fee proposals as intended by the county administrator, buddy.
I think in your package you've got a copy of our recommendation.
Recommendation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Day, second by Commissioner Page. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Dr. Nichols from University of Florida. He was the lowest bidder, and he met all the qualifications that the committee reviewed, and felt like that he could do that. Now, this is going to be, and you'll see the notes there, this is going to be a labor-intensive job for staff to get this information together. It'll probably be a year-long process before you get to the point where you actually write an ordinance to develop an impact fee.
Number 30, the board to consider approval of extension of county administrator's contract agenda by the county administrator. I will pass the gavel. We have a motion recommendation to extend his contract. Wait till I finish the motion because you may not second it. Extend his contract until we can retain the services of the new county administrator or an interim county administrator and raise the salary to aggregate to $145,000 for the interim period.
Final salary.
Right. So we prorated from this point forward after that new salary range.
I want you to know that I have not,
Buddy Humphries had nothing to do with that. I didn't inform the meeting. I plan on doing that, however. 100.
Yeah, I take back my second, I can't be involved.
Exactly. That's why I said please wait until I finish.
got two items, informational items, but they're both very important. The first one, I received a letter from Doctors Memorial Hospital. I'd like to read it to you, and it has to do with insurance. This is from Rick Brown. Dear buddy, I want to make you aware of a dramatic change the hospital has experienced in obtaining property insurance as it relates to hurricane coverage, wind, and flood. Last year, we had $22 million of coverage for all potential mishaps, fire, hurricanes, etc. We had a $50,000 deductible for this coverage and an annual premium of $44,000. This year we have $22 million coverage for fire. However, for named storms, hurricanes, and tropical storms, we were only able to afford to purchase $5 million of coverage. This coverage has a $250,000 deductible. The annual premium for this coverage is $112,000, a 255% increase in the premium from last year for less coverage. We were quoted an additional $5 million coverage on top of the base $5 million for additional $75,000 per year, but we could not afford to purchase it. I do not believe we're in violation of the lease we have with the county as it pertains to insurance coverage, but wanted to bring to your attention the enormous change in availability of coverage and cost. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. When I read that letter, I went and I thought, what is the hospital worth? Without doing a lot of work today, on the property rolls, it's on the property rolls for $14,444,000. So I don't think that the insurance that he was able to afford really covers the hospital in the event of a hurricane, flood, or wind. And I asked Rick to stay at the break because this is an issue that affects all of us in the whole community. All of us as homeowners, we're all hit with this problem. Rick's got a dilemma. We've got a dilemma. How we're going to deal with it. But I know we can't leave the hospital with $5 million worth of coverage when it's on the tax rolls at $14 million. It was properly insured last year at the $22 million rate, in my opinion. Do what? 17 million, wasn't it, Rick? Oh, wind load. When's that insurance expired, Rick?
I believe it expired in July, so we got it, so we got the $5 million.
That's all we've got is $5 million, so we've got unless we've got it insured somewhere else, we've got a $15 million liability. Well, I do want to read in the contract what it says about that. It says, in insurance coverage under 9.02 of the contract, item number 3, DMA shall maintain at its expense insurance coverage against destruction of the building and contents by fire and other hazards. So when I pulled the contract and read it, it's something you need to know.
Well, we gotta stand back here. To insure this building, we're gonna be at $300,000-$400,000.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, I just calculate my risk and roll the dice. I'm not gonna pay it. I understand the bond.
We got a bond that, I understand that, and, I understand that, calculate the risk if you want it, but I don't think we can do that with a bond.
Well, I understand, what I'm trying to say is, I understand the bond, we get that deal in. But right now, we got the limit here, and I will try to resolve it, but I need a lot more information. I don't expect the hospital to go out and get $20 million. If I don't do anything, I don't, I'm gonna go write a resolution to the governor and legislate and say, what's wrong?
And can't we all sign it, every citizen in the county? I mean, it affects not just the hospital.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
bet you are though, probably.
I'm sure we are, but let's make sure that we are, and then we need to be studying about what options can be done. That's one insurance company, right?
There were 22 insurance companies that refused to bid on the property insurance, but we ended up with, I think, 3 companies. And the company that we've been using for 10 years refused to bid on it.
You have an insurance broker you're working for yet?
Yeah.
Who?
And
So that is an insurance broker, they don't sell insurance, they're brokering.
it's a big $1 billion company.
I just,
The one that said welcome to Florida,
Right?
the broker, the one that said welcome to Florida, I don't want that.
Because that's what the insurance companies were telling him. We don't want to insure anything in Florida.
I've got somebody else,
I
I got another broker who, Mr. Chair, I will offer you a motion.
A motion to declare an emergency?
No, is that first off, I want to say due diligence if possible about what we can do, we can't do. But the motion is that.
But wait, Zach, do I need a motion to declare this emergency other than that?
I mean, we're discussing.
this is an informational item to you, and if you declare it's an emergency,
You want to make a motion, I need a emergency declare.
Let me make it a consensus item. Okay, that what we will do is make this a matter for our legislative delegation,
No.
that small, rural, community hospitals, need to be in a fund for, the state of Florida that helps step up and play for this insurance, sort of a sign of it.
That's what we're.
Gary, do you know if we can bind coverage on it till we get this worked out through our insurance carrier that does our own buildings, or do you have any out here?
Yeah, we could probably, add it, but it's gonna be for the fee.
Well, I understand, but I don't want the board to have a liability of $15 million. If we lose that hospital, we'll never rebuild it.
Well,
I'll get with Gary
I
tomorrow.
would think if the county owned it, I don't know how they could not cover it. Yeah. Yeah.
This is the board. We have a little consensus then. Zach, you see what I was trying to do just now? Sure. Okay.
All right, now, and the only other thing, I sent you an email because we had an emergency with, we're combining animal control offices with the city, and their animal control officer had emergency surgery on the 13th of this month, and Bob Brown sent me a letter asking if we would take over immediately to continue to do that, and I agreed to do that, and I hope there weren't any problems with that, but it's something we needed to do, and we'll add it to the contract where it'd be part of the billing in the first initial billing. So we're underway with that. Thank you.
Conrad, anything for that? Ms. Pat?
she was very disappointed in the rain, but it went off fine, I thought. I appreciate y'all coming to it, and it'll be underway Thursday. And also, our new website is up, TaylorCountyGov.com. You'll see that on the back of our own vehicles pretty soon, but anything that the citizens need to look at that we've got electronically will be on TaylorCountyGov, that's one word, .com, www.taylorcountygov.com.
But, I got something. Are we gonna start putting the whole packet, have it where citizens can click on that?
We've got the packet together, we've been working through it, it's been working fine. I'll ask.
Well, it's actually, what I've been doing the last several weeks is running the two sites in parallel. And as I get these packets, I'm putting them on the server, so they're actually there. That's what I was doing during the meeting. I actually searched for the document off the website, and I was looking at the document, getting it through. So yes, the packets are already available, the agendas are already available. Or actually, there's a link to the current minutes database, but I think back in January, there's approved minutes in PDF form that are available on the website. It's searchable.
It's very extensive, this website.
Not just the minutes.
You're talking about this, you're talking about this.
The 188 pages that you had tonight is available. Searchable, you can go in and search September 2006, and it will bring up a list of minutes.
Type in Don Carter, if you're on the agenda tonight, it would pop up this agenda.
Can I say every time, can we run a few ads in the paper that just let the citizens know now they have all the information?
Let us do it.
Yeah, what we've done here, we bring the citizens into
Meg, your question?
I was just gonna ask one question. So you said that you're going through and getting all the documents. Here's my question. It's Saturday morning, and I have nothing better to do but look at the county agenda, and there's 29 items on it. Is there a packet that says, here's what the 29 items, here's all the documentation attached to those 29 items in one spot? Or do I have to start going to find them?
What happens is when you look at the packets, and, for instance, when you get, make sure I'm understanding what you're asking, when you open the packet, there's 30-something agenda items on the packet. Each packet is set up with bookmarks. So if you're looking inside the Adobe Reader, you open up your bookmark tab, and you're going to see they're listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when you click on those numbers, it carries you to the proper place inside the packet.
So for each agenda item, it'll take.
Right, so you can set them with the agenda and then follow that number over the, yes.
Okay, just a couple things. One, I want to apologize to Ron and to the staff again. We put Clay in charge of the weather, and obviously we can't handle it. After numerous complaints, and I know Ms. Pat served this as well on Puckett Road. I know we're working on it, so I understand that portion. Is there any way, because I know Jack has the same problem with Green Street, we have the answers up here, I know they don't. Is there a way we can like put an ad in the paper saying, this is the schedule we're on, so the citizens will know where they are in line? Those repaving?
Sure, I mean, the Bucket Road though is not even on, it's out 2008.
Well,
All the way up to 7.
we got some roads in between the Bucket Road. Old Dixie
this year.
There's some even.
Old Dixie
They
and
get
Fort
pointed
Dixie.
out. I'd like to go look at those and try it. I think if you look at Bucket Road, it's terrible.
That can't be changed though, this is
Very dangerous situation.
scrap and stop money. And the way we submitted it, it's already been approved, the first two have been approved, and the next one is pissed after these two.
But that's the question. It's business as bad as promises.
Well, the trouble is, we got the engineering, like Lynn explained today, I'm sure the engineering on Old Dixie is the same way too. And people that go to work at Buckeye will tell you that Old Dixie is just as bad.
Not as bad as Bucket. Not as bad, nothing right now as bad as Bucket that I've heard. And that's the question I have. Is there any way to switch business and Bucket?
I don't have an answer for you, I can check tomorrow and try to get back to you, I don't really know. I don't know. Don't forget your interview. Don't forget your interviews.
I think,
Thursday.
I think on behalf of Ms. Pat, we thank y'all for helping us there, because I know she's getting just as well as I am. I want to thank the staff and everyone for all their help and submission. They're always great to be with. And I'll get a motion to pay the bills.
Motion.
The second, Motion by Commissioner DeFay, second by Commissioner Page, all in favor say aye. Aye. I entertain a motion to go home.